Hey everybody, welcome to stream. Thank you um, for everyone for coming in. This is probably like the largest raid I've ever had in my life. So Katie, thank you for raiding me and bringing your community in. I appreciate all of you guys for being here for a very special stream. And we're gonna let Katie have a few minutes to get in and you get in the Zoom link, which I sent to her a few minutes ago. But while it is, I thought I could just quickly describe who I am. Also talk about Dan for a second, and then she's already getting in right now. And thank you guys, everyone, so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I'm not going to get into thanking every single one of you because that would take too long. But I really appreciate all of you for being a part of this. It's a stream that I've wanted to do and had the idea for. Actually, I was looking back at the original date, was way back in May, and it's something I really um I know Katie and Dan didn't do a lot of press around this release, and I wanted to, did a great social media blitz. The songs did incredibly well, but I wanted to for the archive for the time in their lives and in my life listening to the music, wanted to encapsulate a little bit about the process of making it, while it's still, relatively fresh, and just talk about, how life has been since the release, and talk about the EP release party, which was so great. But welcome in, Katie. How are you doing?
Sorry, I'm late.
No, no, you are perfectly on time. Trust me. I was late to my own party, so it happens, especially when you have trolleys, almost 6 year olds.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah.
So I was like, "You really can't stall tonight," and he was like, "Watch me,"
Of course,
so
it's the way it
um,
goes.
he had a good first day at camp. That was great. My daughter had her first day of camp where she's going to go to school as well. No tears, walked straight into it and just had a blast. So that's what you want. Luckily,
That's amazing.
we've been a part of that community for many years, so it's not like it's a new person or someone she hadn't been with before. And
Mm.
that's great. And we've got Dan here as well. Dan, how are you doing tonight?
I am good. Hey, Katie, what's up?
You know, hanging in there.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a chaotic transition.
Yes. I'm sure it is. It's weird. So Katie's done two streams today, and is now rated in to potentially what we call a third stream. But at least you don't have to push any buttons anymore.
Yeah,
So you
which
get
is
to
good
move.
because I'm not very good at it.
Right. So I will try to push the buttons to the best of my ability. And we've actually given some control to Dan to push some buttons as part of this stream today too. So he's my technical support as well. With We're gonna have him share screen and walk through some of the tracks and things like that. I just wanted to give a little quick update for people who don't know. I usually do a sports stream. It's on Mondays at this time, but I am on hiatus. I take a break after the NBA, NHL finals up until football season starts up again. And I am going to be doing a 2 week Olympics special, which both of you guys are invited, if you guys watch the Olympics at all, to be a part of that in August. It's going to be so many friends of ours from across the Twitchverse, and some of my friends from my podcast will all do different sports and different topics than they usually get to talk about. And so it could be literally about anything. So if you guys watch the Olympics at all, let me know. I'd be happy to have you guys back and just do even a short segment about whatever sport that you are watching. So it should be kind of fun, a little bit different than the normal one. So that'll be the first 2 weeks in August. I actually have a concert at my house this weekend with a Twitch streamer, which is
Yeah, I
wild.
heard about that.
Um,
That's so cool.
so Emily Henry is coming here. I'm praying for good weather because it's supposed to be a picnic and everyone's supposed to be on the outside of my house. But obviously, if it rains, we'll have to reconfigure a lot of things. So I'm hoping for the best for that. So if anybody lives in Maryland or Virginia, you can check out my Instagram for more information on that. My Instagram name is the same as my Twitch handle as well. So and thank you to my mods for being here. Carly is awesome as always. And we've also got DC's People's Champ as well. So I appreciate both of you guys for modding and for the 65 people that are in chat right now. So the way this is going to go, it's going to be pretty simple. We're going to walk through the timeline of the album, in track order and talk about the creation process, and also the production that goes into it. But before we get into that, I just want you, each one of you guys, to give a little bit of your history with music, and your history on Twitch. Just a short bio, doesn't have to be super long. Just for people who might come across this at some other point that might not be fans of either one of yours or mine or whatever.
That would be outrageous if they weren't friends of ours.
Right. Yeah, exactly. They should be. How dare they? Dan, I'm going to start with you. How long have you been producing and creating music?
Well, when I was a little boy, no, just kidding. It's gonna be too long.
When I was a young
I'm gonna tell you. You should not give me any control. I'm gonna totally like destroy your stream.
Yes.
So producing music for myself, I guess for about 30 years. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm very old. Yeah, my kids are
I'll be 40 this year, so I'm getting up there. So,
yeah, you're getting closer to Dan. Yeah,
right.
my oldest is driving now. If that gives you an
Oh,
indication.
yeah.
So about 30 years, I've been playing piano for 40 years. Yeah. So I've been around.
Right. So, Dan does ambient music a lot on his channel. He also does some production work live on the channel as well. And obviously, you can check out his. He has a Bandcamp and a lot of great music, also streamable on Apple Music. And he's great music to work to. And it's just it reminds me a lot of movie cinema scores, right? And as somebody who studied filmmaking in college. And I've dabbled just very briefly in trying to arrange stuff to go with it. I've loved Dan's tracks. I've used a lot of them in scuba movies that I've been able to produce, and I appreciate him for letting me do that. And it's just such great music to try to edit to and try to cut to, and I think that that's pretty awesome. I found Dan actually through a raid train that our friend Josh, put on. So Josh is kind of an interconnector between all of us, because when I first met Katie, she was doing collab streams with Josh, and I met both of them just a little bit before those collabs that they did, and so it was really cool to be on that raid train, fall into this music that I hadn't really heard much on Twitch, and then Dan and I became fast friends, and I've made emotes for him, and we've done some cool collaborations over the past year, and so I'm excited. I hope that people definitely go and check out his channel as well. And then Katie, I found Voice Unmuted, crazy enough, almost 4 years ago. And it was so fun. It was a relatively small room when I found it, just a lot of regulars, and it has obviously exploded into something much larger. And I'm so happy to see that in your community grow, and it's been such a cool thing. And so, Katie, talk to us about had you didn't do much music before Twitch, right? It was
no.
yeah,
It's interesting. I hadn't thought about it in a while, but we met like 4 years ago, December, right?
yeah. No, like
Yeah.
I think it was November, December, something like that.
November, December. Yeah, somewhere around there. It's
Yeah,
wild. That's coming
the
up
end
on 4
of the
years.
end of 2020. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's
Wild.
wild. Yeah.
Also, I would just like to make a note before I talk about myself. I think it's cool that Dan and I have coordinated. We're both doing the blue background with the
And
blue
There
I
you go.
didn't. Unfortunately, this is my room is
Yeah,
painted this
Robbie's
color,
sadly out of place.
I didn't, like
You are but the host, Robbie, and
right.
we
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So,
But yeah, no, I didn't really do music at all before Twitch. I have always loved to sing, but as my community knows, I am very scared of singing in front of people. To this day, I still occasionally have like full-blown panic attacks before starting stream. I very frequently start streams sweating because I'm scared.
trust me, I've now done this for 8 or 9 years, interviewing people, and I
Yeah,
still, before I go live, get nervous.
yeah,
You
it's
know,
scary.
it is because we're still live. I know it's our community, so they're probably not going to cancel us, for
Yeah,
making a mistake. They
it's
understand
still
the
vulnerable,
process.
you know.
But yeah, whenever you hit the
Yeah,
live button and you go in front of a camera, I always thought I was just gonna be a producer. I mean, a quick step backwards in my life, I literally thought I was going to produce somebody else doing a sports show. And they're like, I'll just do it with them. And then we started a call-in show, and then it ballooned into this. So like,
that's
um,
amazing.
yeah, so like, because I always want to be a filmmaker, behind the camera, editor. I never thought I was going to be in front of the camera at all. So,
Yeah,
uh,
no, I also very much was a behind the camera kind of gal
yeah,
up until now. Um, But yeah, so I've always loved to sing. I played guitar for a while when I was in university for like not quite a full year, because my best friend just left her guitar at my place, and I was like, I'm just gonna learn. I'm just gonna teach myself how to play guitar really casually. And then I stopped playing for 6 or 7 years. Um, and then I had a breakup where I had been terrified to sing in front of this person, which is a shame because I loved to sing. And so then we broke up, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna go to open mic. I'm gonna do the thing that I was terrified to do when we were together. And then the pandemic happened, like 2 months later, and a bunch of people from that open mic encouraged me to get onto Twitch, and I was very scared. But then at a certain point, it was like I have nothing to lose. What's the worst that could happen? And the only thing holding me back here is fear. So I picked up a guitar. When I first started streaming, I didn't even play guitar.
That's that's wild.
I didn't even play an instrument. I just did karaoke tracks.
Yes. I mean, but a lot of people, that was a big thing. I see that Andy's in chat, Primordial Sounds is, I also found in your community, as well as Carly Sings. So I found most of my mods through your community. And, I talked to them about it, but Andy did karaoke for a long time. Twitch Sings was a very
Yeah.
popular, part of Twitch and a big part of the history of the platform. So, a lot of
Yeah.
people do it that way.
I
For
think
sure.
Twitch Sings is also the only reason that I knew that there was anything music on Twitch. Not that I used Twitch Sings, I didn't know how. But
Yeah, I also never figured it out. Dan, how did you find out about Twitch music?
So I think well, I started on YouTube. I think I had started posting a few videos, and I was I was planning on doing. The idea was to do living room concert tours, small venues. So I started getting like I got my first looper, and I started getting all that together, and I had got a projector, and was going to be projecting like images and try to make like a cinematic kind of theme. And then the pandemic happened, and so I streamed on YouTube a couple of times, and then there's an ambient guitarist. This is good. I'll try to keep this story short because
Oh,
I'll
you're
just go
fine.
on and on and on. But anyway, there's an ambient guitarist. His name is Andy Othling.
Mm,
He goes by Lowercase Noises, and a bunch of us followed him from YouTube into Twitch.
mm.
So I tried it a couple times. First time through, I can't remember when I first started streaming on Twitch, but it was literally just me, like it is
Was
in the
it
beginning.
pre-pandemic or was it during?
Uh, it might have been just at the beginning of the pandemic,
Yeah.
and I didn't try it for very long, and just kind of threw in the towel. And then Andy came over to Twitch, so I gave another kick of the can, and then things just seemed to work the second time around for whatever reason.
It's
So
funny. I had the
very
exact same.
glad you gave it a second
Yeah,
chance.
I have the same
thank you.
story. I also gave up the first time, and people like Carly and Andy were like, now you have a community and people that will, help and follow you and stuff like that. You should try it again because it was hard. There's not very many sports, people on here, so it's not like it's a huge, topic that people want to talk about. But it's still fun. I love it over here, and I'm happy I gave it a second chance. All right, let's get into the album because I mean I could chat honestly with you guys for hours without the album being the premise, but
Well, this is a 6 hour stream, right?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
24. What do you mean?
right, exactly. My wife would kill me. But I think we'll try to keep it to two. Hopefully less. But we'll see. I love chatting, so it's nothing's gonna stop me, and I know Katie does too. So, um,
Ooh, I barely talk ever.
definitely, definitely. All right, so let's talk about the first song on the album. It was obviously the first song that I ever heard Katie's sing that was an original. And it's If You Showed My Scars, Would You Still Want to Know Me, which has been played over 220 times on stream, which is wild. And it debuted on October 14th, 2020. And I also was looking at some other cool stats about it. Ramekins was the first requester with Young Sub 3, aka the Mango Man, aka Jack Netto Music, was the earliest requesters of this song and requested a lot. And he was actually on this show 6 months ago. So shout out to Jack Netto
I
Music.
love Jack.
Yeah, he's awesome. I think he's been taking
Kathy,
breaks
how dare you
recently.
apologize?
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but so Ramekins actually requested this song my first time on your stream 2 weeks later. So it was just at the end of October when I first came. So I went back and looked at that, and yeah, I was like, wow, what a powerful song. And I know. So can you tell us a little bit about it? And then Dan, if you want to share the screen, I will flip the screen over whenever that you activate that, and we can go into the production side after you tell your story about it.
Yeah, so that was the first original that I ever wrote. Well, full length. We don't count cheese curds. Everybody else counts cheese curds, but I don't. It's actually really incredible to see that like if I showed you my scars, like it has such staying power. We literally played it today on stream, so it's absolutely incredible to see all the support that it's gotten. I was so scared to share that song, but I wrote that song because I was participating in a charity stream for the first time, and it was for the American Society for Suicide Prevention Foundation. I don't know what it is. And I was watching some of the other streams for that raid train, and it was just really inspiring to see everybody kind of talking about their experience. And I wanted so badly to do that, but I wasn't ready to open up about that, especially on such a vulnerable platform. Um, and I think it was Taryn Seattle who was in the raid train before me, and she played a song, and I don't even remember what song it was, but just like something clicked in me. And I started working on If I Showed You My Scars, Would You Still Want to Know Me? And 100%, I didn't know what to call it. So I just gave it like early 2000s Fall Out Boy title vibes. Um,
Right. Or Panic at the Disco, all
yeah,
the
yeah,
things. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Which my
Um,
wife loves those titles. That was her favorite era of
they're my
music.
favorite too.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was writing scars was very much my way of opening up about my experience without uh having to talk about it in a way that felt as scary, still absolutely terrifying, but not having to go into details was I think helpful for me. And so Scars was very much kind of my breakthrough into turning kind of some pain and some trauma and some tough stuff, some emotions into art. And I'm very, very grateful for how receptive people were because it really helped me to continue writing songs. If it hadn't gone well, I don't know that I would have continued with that. So
Yeah. I'm happy that it went well. And I have to just stop for a second. There's a lot of crazy things
I
happening.
know. Hi, Cass.
Hi, welcome,
Hi,
Cass.
babies.
It all
Cast
came
with the raid.
full circle since Katie rated Cass a bunch of hours ago, which is wild. That
We're
happened.
we're in our own raid train.
Right, exactly. That's awesome. And thanks to my wife, Texas Lizard 86. People didn't know that's Liz, for the resub for 31 months. And thank you for the gift subs as well, all of the follows, the raid, all of it. Thank you guys. I really appreciate that a lot. And yeah, welcome back, Cass. So we're just talking about scars and sort of the history behind it. Do you want to see if you can share screen and I'll flip the screens, Dan, and we can.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I just want to take
And
a quick second to shout out Cass because I know that we're talking about my EP, mine and Dan's work on this EP. But Cass is also a super fantastic, an incredible human being, but also an amazing musician who happens to maybe be working with Dan on some tracks
hells
Yeah,
yeah.
also. So
that's
with stuff
wild.
to look forward to.
Yeah. I love Cass. I think it's so cool that she opened as part of the EP release party, which is
Yeah.
even more fitting.
I was so grateful that she agreed to do that, and it was so incredible because I think that again, like I've said, I've said this many times today, but I've known Cass since actually open mics, and she was one of the people who encouraged me to get onto Twitch, um, and I love and appreciate her so much, and she's been so inspiring to me as an artist since I met her. Um, and it's so incredible to see her doing good things now and doing exciting things. Um, But I was so honored to have her open up for me for the EP release, and it was so incredible the number of people who came up to me afterward just to tell me how fantastic she is and how they thought I was exaggerating when I said she had such an angelic voice. And I was like, no, I wouldn't lie. She's truly amazing. Um, and yeah, it was an awesome time. Thank you, Cass. I love you.
I love that you recorded that stream and that you gave everyone online an opportunity to watch, that. And I definitely really love that VOD. I've gone back and watched it a couple times now. So it just makes me proud to see all those people that are, been a part of the community, even Burger Boy, and getting to come and do that as well. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really inspiring thing to see the community that you've been able to create here,
Mhm.
here on Twitch. So Dan, tell me about the first time you heard this song, maybe, and some of your initial thoughts of it, and then walk us through. People might not know what a DAW is, so maybe just walk us through what we're seeing here, and then I know you probably have a million layers, as someone who works on layers does, but
It's not too bad. It looks worse. It looks worse than it is. I mean,
right.
well, actually, no, it's quite a few. But um, so well, I can't remember if this is Katie would know whether or not this is the first track that I forget what the first one is now. She
I
would
think
probably
this
know.
was the first one that we worked
Okay,
on.
so
It
when
might
yeah
have
when,
been no, because honestly, we didn't do until later. There was so many tracks for that. I didn't sort them until
yeah
forever.
so yeah she had this collection of songs and she I guess she had them produced mixed and she was just looking for something a little bit different. So what I said to her, and all my stories are going to be really long, but I'll try to
No,
just cut me
I
off at any
love
time
long stories. You go
because
for
I
as
could
long
just
as you
go
need.
on and on. So what I said to her is, I like let's not don't commit to all five songs because you don't know me, you don't know my work. Let's just do one song, and then if you're happy with it, we'll do the rest. So that's what we did, and luckily she loved it, and she loved the rest of them. So
It just,
um,
I want to take a second because it was such a struggle for me to get this EP out. When I first had them, went in to get them produced, I really didn't like the outcome. And the person that I was working with was just really not taking to heart my feedback and like wasn't making the changes that I was asking for and like just kept telling me that I was wrong about my own songs and then like spent an hour and a half insulting me over the phone when I was like I don't think that this is working and it took me a very long time to decide that I was ready to come back to this project and like let go of the fact that I just hated, I didn't like where the songs were at and trust somebody else with this project. And like, Dan, I thank you so much because you helped me like my own songs again for the first time in years. And I really appreciate it.
oh, thanks so much. That's so. I mean, you've said that before, and I really appreciate that. And that's always the end goal. You want um, I'm a songwriter and I know what it's like, trusting somebody else with they're such personal things. They're like your little babies, your songs, right? So it's not easy to let go of those. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just glad that worked out. So yeah, so we did this. So she sent me the original mixes. I listened to those. And sometimes it can be a blessing and a curse because you're listening to the original mixes and there's things that I liked, but I knew that she wasn't crazy about the production. But I did hear some things that definitely I want to improve on. Um, and I think probably the big thing was that vocally, her voice was just getting a little bit lost in the mix, um, which she had, of course, noticed as well. So that was probably the bulk of the work that was done to really make sure that it's cutting through and very, very clear, especially with modern day music. I mean, it's all about the voice, right? The voice is what it's all about. So anyway, she
And
sent me
it's
the
in her
mix.
and it's in her name. It's you can't read it.
Yeah.
Exactly. You got to
Yeah.
live
And
up to
like
the name.
from the get-go working on these songs, like the thing that I had told everybody that I had even thought about working with was that like the most important thing to me is that like the vocals really come through, that the emotion comes through. So
Yeah, it's the number one thing for sure. So she sent me like just a ton of tracks, like just like this, like it was like moving boxes full of tracks. So normally what I would do is I would just bring everything into the mix. So I'm using Logic. I use Ableton for live looping, but I use Logic for mixing just because I've used it the longest. So I didn't bring everything in. You can kind of pull up a sidebar and you can kind of audition takes, and then the ones that I like, I would bring those in.
Yeah, can I
So
ask a simple question real quick?
yeah, for
Is
sure.
is Logic and GarageBand fairly similar, or are they like very different?
GarageBand is like the baby brother, I guess. It's
It's
like
like
the
iMovie to Final Cut kind of thing.
yeah, yes, yeah, yeah. GarageBand is like the gateway,
Yeah.
the gateway into Logic. Like for me, I can never go back to GarageBand because it's too limited to what I need to do. But if you're new to recording, anyone who's new out there, GarageBand is amazing, really sophisticated. So yeah, so I just I brought in some tracks, and basically what I do is I go through the ones that I think that I can keep, and I'll throw those in there. The ones that I don't think that I can keep for whatever reason, it could be something that was a recording, it could be a sound on the guitar or whatever. So whatever stays stays. If I don't think I can keep it, then we kind of sort of try to clean it up and pare it down. And then yeah, and then I slowly start to add to it, and I don't know how many iterations of this one we went through, but basically I would come up with a mix, I would drop it in the Google Drive, Katie would listen to it, give me feedback, and then we would just keep going back and forth until she was happy. I think as the process went on, and should probably agree with this. I'm putting words in Katie's mouth. Maybe she would agree with this, but I feel like from the first song to the fifth song, by the time we got to the fifth, I feel like I had kind of figured out, the sound that she was going for. It kind of took like 5 songs, so I think there was less. I think by the time we got to the end, there was less.
There was less feedback.
Yeah, yeah, because I think we'd kind of figured out, what
I
sound we were
actually
going
can
for.
almost hear that in the songs, which is interesting because I think that the last 3 songs are similarly produced. Where like when I went to make a video of our trip to Texas, I took those 3 songs, so I thought there was a really interesting, pathway through them. And I just thought that I always like hearing them in a row, and I think that they're just so. It's also very different than how they maybe originally I heard them on stream, which is I think interesting. But so it has this own sort of signature sound, which the other 2 songs, fall into that same category as well. But I also think that I'm so attached to the first 2 songs because of, how long I've heard them, that it's obviously is a very different relationship to the other 3. So it's just interesting from the listener's point of view that you can kind of pick up on some of that. So the other question I had is when you're producing, I know Katie has the original Guitar Way, or the way that she performed it before. Does
Right.
she send you that, or does she just send you the chords and you write them? Yeah, and then
No,
you write up.
she sent me everything. So I had all the original files. I think in this case I kept the original acoustic guitar files. You can see them up at the top there. So those are the original files. And then sometimes I would just do some neat tricks, like with the acoustic guitar. I took this one take and I duplicated it and nudged it over a tiny. I'm getting really nerdy here, but move the region over slightly, and then you hard pan left, hard pan right, and then you get this crazy stereo sound. So just little tricks like that you could take
It
if you
adds
just
to
have.
like the fullness of the sound.
Yeah, it just makes it
It's
kind of just opens it right up.
kind of like
Um,
why you have an orchestra, right? You have more different instruments to try to create a more full body sound.
yeah, exactly. It's a pretty big difference. So yeah, I kept wherever I could. I tried to keep as much of the original kind of. I basically stripped it down to acoustic guitar and vocals, and removed all the other kind of production elements that had been put in there, and kind of start over again. So, and then the other key thing with all these tracks, what I try to do with every song that I do is for the track to evolve from start to finish, so that you're never listening to, and hopefully you never get bored. Hopefully there's always something new being dropped in, some kind of new sound, something. You just keep building, 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 or sometimes you take things away. but the last thing you want to hear is just kind of the same thing from start to finish. Um, so I have fun with that to
I know
kind
what
of
I
try
feel
to.
like the songs were when I sent them to you, where they were like they weren't very dynamic at all.
Yeah, and I think that was part of what you were going for, is that you wanted a little more like life to them,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, we were looking for more kind of dynamic, more kind of like a build to the mix, and we were looking for the vocals to kind of cut through. So yeah, we start with the vocals and then acoustic guitars, and then I think all this green stuff is all like stuff that I added, which is mostly like MIDI instruments, so kind of programmed drums, some bass, piano, stuff like that.
So
I
Dan,
think
do
I
you play any live instruments on these tracks, or is all the live instruments Katie and you played
well, I
computer?
sneak little things in there as much as I can.
Yeah. But
So,
but are they all played through MIDI, or are they all, some of them actually played like through like a mic pickup?
oh, okay, I see what you mean. So basically, all the virtual instruments are all through MIDI. Um, Now, when I'm recording piano parts, it's almost always one take. So I have the chords, and I try to only do one take because I like it to be very, because piano is just my my most comfortable instrument. So I try to make it very very natural sounding.
Makes so much sense to me because I love the piano in these tracks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because the worst thing, you don't want it to sound like, I don't know what the word is, unnatural.
Yeah.
And then I did throw in a couple of tracks. I think I did a little bit of electric guitar and a little bit of acoustic guitar, just little elements and some. So in terms of actual real instruments that I added, it would be electric and acoustic guitars, but very very minimal, just kind of like little things, little textures and background noises and stuff like that. Um, yeah, so that would be in the blue. You'd see some electric guitar in there and all the other stuff. I mean, I guess I went kind of nuts on this one, but it seems like a lot, but it's kind of spread out. You can see that. Hopefully, you can see in the arrangement that it slowly starts to build as you go from the left side to the right. These are the original reference mixes, so I would always kind of go back to those. Um, so yeah, and again with the reference mixes, it could be a blessing and a curse, because there's things that you hear and you're like, oh, I kind of like that, and so the question is, do you try to recreate what's there and make it better, or do you kind of go in a different direction? I think most of the time I went in a different direction until Katie's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. There was one song I remember where I went off. I can't remember which one it was out of the five, but she's like, whoa. She's like,
Wait,
that's
was
getting
it,
a
would
little.
it have been All Never where I was like, hold on, can
Uh,
we start from scratch?
yeah, maybe it might have been. It might have been. I just went to town. She's like, whoa, easy there, buddy. So, but that's good, because sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you have to kind of just. I try not to waste too much time picking a direction. I just choose one and I go, and they're either going to like it or they're not. And the worst that can happen is they don't like it, and usually it's that they don't like. It's not all of it that they dislike. It's just a few elements that we can change. Um, yeah,
I love to
and
speak into the behind the scenes look though, because I think I find it very interesting. I know I work in Final Cut, which is obviously very different, but it's the same idea as you layering. I layer video or layer timelines or speeds or bringing in music and bringing out music and stuff like that. So I think of a lot of these things, and I do notice different stuff as you were saying every time I listen to these songs, which I always love Easter eggs, and I like that the produced version is different than the live version. Like, and I love both, but they have their own characteristics that make them unique. So I still want to go to see a live performance, but I also like going back to the track and listening through it. And I think it's important to have both be different.
yeah, I mean, Katie would probably answer that better than me, but yeah, personally, I like it when songs sound a little bit different than the live recording, because otherwise, just stay home and listen to the live recording, right? So I think you gotta, you know, make things a little bit different. When you have a ton of tracks, then you have
Yeah.
the opportunity to do something different.
I also think for me, like seeing all or hearing all the extra elements like makes the songs feel more like real songs to me because as the person writing the songs, I'm like, these aren't real songs. They're just something I just threw together together, you know? But then like once all of the elements kind of come together, you start to hear it the way that other people are going to hear it, and you're like, oh, this is music. Like this is a real song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always my favorite thing to hear, like kind of the evolution from kind of just, it all starts with vocal and acoustic guitars, and it's kind of neat to hear how it all kind of comes together.
It must be
What other?
interesting to work on different types of music genres because this is obviously very different than what we hear from your channel normally, and so I think that it's cool to be able to for you to be able to produce all different types of music, and I'm sure that that's a fun challenge.
Yeah, it is. It's something I really enjoy. I don't really want to be, put into one niche or genre. I like working on all kinds of different stuff. Um, yeah, the one thing I was gonna say, like for vocals, I don't know if I did it so much on this one, but we were talking about things like kind of cutting through the mix. This is probably gonna look a little crazy, this whole thing, but I think, did I run some distortion through some of? Okay, yeah, I did. So, any producers out there or people looking for stuff to cut through the mix, just a little tip for you. But um, if you add some saturation to the lead vocals, that can be tape saturation, and sometimes distortion works really well. As if you just throw like a tiny little bit in there. So there's a couple of vocal tracks, where I've actually bust out her vocals to just a little bit of distortion. So you just kind of mix it in a tiny little bit, and it really just gets it cutting right through, and it sounds cool as long as you don't push it too hard. And if I ever did push it too hard, she'd be like, why are my vocals sounding distortion? What are you doing, Dan?
Yeah.
So yeah, little tip for you.
Cool, cool. Why don't we hear just a little bit of it and then we
Sure.
can move on into track two?
Absolutely. Let's see here. Let's play from here.
I just wanna fade into the background. I'll be the fella on the wall. I don't know what happens if I pull the mask down. Would anybody even hear me if I called?
So you get a little
Yeah,
little
love that.
things, little transitionary kind of things. So you can hear that. I mean, that vocal is just dead center, just cutting right through the mix. It's right there, and that's what you're right up front. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah. So how
It's
many?
also a killer tune, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank
How
you.
many takes of the vocals do you do? And Katie, how do you record your vocals?
Well, this time what I did was I went into a studio with the person who was producing the songs initially, and I just did as many takes as he asked me to do. And so I actually have no idea how many vocal takes I did for each song. But all in all, like I recorded all the vocals for the entire EP in like 6 hours. So maybe less actually. Um, yeah, we really just like shot them out, and I did them all in a day. Except for one more was actually recorded in a totally different room, in a different studio
Oh
with
wow.
a different microphone and everything. So it was like super weird to me. But it worked out and it was all fine. But yeah, yeah, we recorded all the vocals at the same time.
And
Probably like I want to say between like 5 and 15 takes, depending on the song. But like it also very much depended on the song, whether we recorded all of the vocals at once or we did different takes for different song parts. So
that makes sense. And did you also recorded the guitar parts in those recording sessions as well?
I
Or just
recorded the guitar parts in an earlier recording session. Yeah.
got it. And so you had all of those, and then you didn't end up not going with that producer, but you had all that and you sent it to Dan.
Yeah, so he sent me all of the stems for everything because I was like, I kind of did pay for that though. So
So
um
it was always going to be these five songs,
yeah.
So yeah, that was the vision from the beginning. So because I know that a lot of them have obviously changed a lot. We'll get into that in the sort of Taylor half of the EP, and but they weren't originally going to be piano centric songs when you were originally producing them. Yeah, so that
No.
was
And yeah, I honestly didn't really know what I wanted from them, but I just knew that they weren't right.
Yeah, they weren't right. That's cool. All right, let's talk about track number two. And I mean I could talk about Scars all night, but just for time purposes, we'll keep on moving. I'll let Dan switch his screen here. And when he does the share screen again, I'll flip it back, otherwise it makes this wonky. Anyway, so I guess so let's talk about the next one, which is Salad. So 2 months into me following you, I requested my very first song on your channel, which I thought was interesting because
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, I had no idea that it had taken me that long to request a song, but it was a song that I had heard just a couple of weeks earlier, and so it's probably my favorite song that you've written, and it was the fifth time that you had played at that point, with Riker being the first to request it on December 16th, 2020. So this song has been requested 150 times on channel. And it's a fan favorite with only Chosen Family, Scars, Clean Air, and Cheese Curds being requested more than this song, which I think is awesome. And so, Katie, can you talk about what inspired you to write Salad, or okay, the sad ballad? And then we'll have Dan share his screen whenever he's ready.
Yeah, so Sad Ballad, Salad was actually the third song that I wrote. And I just, at the time that I wrote it, I was having a really hard time just kind of coming to terms with. I have a lot of health stuff, and like earlier in that year, I had started having seizures, and we had no idea why. And I wrote Salad a couple months into waiting to go into the hospital to be monitored for that. I ended up getting in 2 years after that, which was insane. But yeah, just I'd been through all of the tests that I could do outside of the hospital, and like when I wrote Salad, it was 2 months after that last test, and I was just really struggling with just like all the exhaustion and like not having any control over my own body and not knowing what was going on. And it's just a really tough time. And writing Salad was kind of my way of processing all of that and putting it into words. I love the way that the lyrics turned out, because I didn't really do it on purpose, but once I wrote it, I was like, I kind of feel like this song very much also applies to my mental health struggles, where like even like the chorus, where it's very explicitly about like me having seizures, where it's like my limbs shake and it gets hard to speak. It's very hard to speak while convulsing. And um like when I have panic attacks, like that's also causes me to get very shaky, and I have a really hard time speaking when I'm upset and or overwhelmed. And it's like, huh, I didn't mean to write this song about all of the health things, but I guess I did by accident.
I actually think because it's about that sort of anxiety that it's even more relatable to, people, especially people I find across Twitch, a lot of them have anxiety and a lot of those, can be more introverted people. And so I think that there is a common thread there, and why I think it's still to this day one of the most popular songs you've written. I think things can be written about one thing, but people take it on themselves about what it means to them, right? Because
Yeah,
you just
straight
write it,
up.
and then but how it's going to be received, you don't really have much control over.
Yeah, I love that though. I love that people can interpret it in a way that resonates with them, in the way that they can connect with it. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. And well, thank you to the anonymous gifter who just gave Katie a sub.
Thanks, Anonymous.
Yeah, I appreciate all the subs tonight, all the follows, all all the things that people are doing. I'm sorry that I'm not reading through it. Maybe at the end of the stream, I'll read through some of that. But I really appreciate everyone for just being a part of this conversation. I think it's an interesting time capsule into a really great album. Dan, why don't you share your screen and I will flip mine, and then we can talk about the production of it.
Sure. Thank you, Anonymous. Appreciate you. Okay, you guys can see that all right? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So this one, I'm trying to think of different things that I could talk about. They're different between, just so I'm not talking about the same things. But this one we did. I'll play a little bit of it, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of the
And,
elements.
and you can also highlight different parts and different instruments if you'd want to
Sure.
talk about specific moments.
Can't explain why I'm feeling caged and claustrophobic, needing space. But it's not an option, and I know it in a crowd. Alone. And the pain drowns me in waves I can't see coming. It's hard to take when my body's going numb and I lose control. When my limbs shake and it gets hard to speak, when my mind aches and I'm feeling so weak, when my heart breaks in two.
Yeah, so I would at least get that line because you were just talking about that line. So, yeah, I mean, these are a lot of fun to work on. This one what strikes me, and I think I just thought of this, but I think this is one where we changed the tempo of the chorus.
Yeah.
Didn't we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
It was just, I
so
think it was just a little too, was it too fast or was it too slow? I don't remember.
we
It
slowed
felt- I
it
think it was
down
fast.
like
Yeah.
we slowed it down just a tiny little bit just for the chorus.
Yeah.
So that took a bit of doing, but what I did, you could do it within Logic. You can see like all this tempo information.
Wow.
Sometimes when Logic analyzes tempo, it's kind of a little bit all over the place, but I didn't really want to do it in the same project that I was messing around with. So basically what I did was when we had kind of gotten it where we wanted, I bounced it out into a separate project called Slow Chorus or something like that. And then I just manually slow the chorus down just for the choruses. But like it was like 1 or 2 beats per minute. It was
Yeah,
next
I
to
think
nothing.
it's literally 1 beat per minute.
Yeah, but as soon
We're
as I
just
did,
like,
she was like, "Oh, that's perfect." I'm
"Let's
like, "All
wait,
right,
let's wait."
as,
Yeah.
as long as you're happy, it's all good." And
When
the
I
cool-
first heard it, it just felt like it just felt like it was racing to me, and I was like, I don't, that's too fast. But then it was literally 1 beat per minute made a world of difference to me.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, tempo is everything. So I totally get it. And the cool thing when these things happen is that I learn how to do something new because there's always something new in Logic that I'm always like faced with some kind of new challenge. I'm like, oh, I haven't done that. Okay, now let's figure out how to do it. And then I'm like, okay, I have a new little skill set that I'm able to do. So, and the sounds you're hearing in the beginning were just kind of like very, very cinematic, kind of synthy kind of strings. So again, just try to like, I guess the hardest thing when you're listening to the demo is how do you support it without ruining it, without doing something that's gonna take away from whatever message that's trying to be told, that's not gonna interfere with the vocals. It can be a tricky thing. So I think usually what I do is I always go with a less is more kind of approach. And again, this probably seems like a lot, but a lot of these are her original vocal tracks. You know, like those are like 10 or 11 vocal tracks right there that I've just kind of cut up and thrown all over the place. I think in this, for whatever reason, the intro guitar I replaced. So that was my guitar at the beginning, but I kept hers later on. Again, I can't remember exactly why that was, but and again, some more electric guitar that I threw in there. But really, I mean, not a ton of tracks. It's just, I mean, these are just a few little synthy kind of things, some piano. I got some organ in there, which was kind of fun. Got a tambourine. Got to have a tambourine.
Right.
And just like some percussive elements, but really not a ton that was added to this track. It was
I do
It's
like
pretty
how you
stripped
built
down.
it though. It's still
Yeah.
stripped and still simple, but it still has this, organic build that I think is
Yeah.
important.
I love that it's like it's such a subtle but like perfect build to the end. I think like listening to this song especially, I feel like I remember Dan sent me a message saying that like he's not as a producer, he's not supposed to choose favorites, but like he likes this one. And I felt like I could hear that in the song. And I was like, man, like this gives me feelings. So
Yeah.
it was really, really cool to see it come to life like that. I just,
It was
it
almost
was.
too powerful. That's why I didn't end up choosing it for one of my videos because I was like, like I felt like the other three were like, oh, right in the pocket, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna be like crying while I'm watching some videos.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so,
You
yeah,
know what's funny, and this is gonna sound a little strange, but I always do the hair tests like on the arm. If the
yeah,
hair stands up,
yeah.
whatever song I'm working on, then I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm on to something. It's just like this weird reaction that if you don't get it right, it doesn't happen, and when you do, it's just like this weird thing that your body does. So definitely felt that on this song for sure. So then you're like, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
For the record, I felt it for all five of the songs. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. I did. I do
it
too. At some point for each of the one. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, Um, yeah, I don't know. It's such a powerful song. It sort of in a lot of ways embodies the community to me, like, how, like, especially the early times, and how, where it came from and the struggles and then going through. I remember that song being such a powerful, almost like the anthem of the channel, especially early on, and, it's cool to see that, it still gets requested to this day and, it's still an important part of the history of it. And so I'm just happy that this album got to have songs from all sorts of different time periods in Katie's writing, but really to encapsulate this early writings in the stream history, I think was so important. And so I'm thankful that you guys did that. All right. Let's keep going to the third song. And yeah, it's let me just switch the screens because otherwise Dan gets all chopped up. And so let's talk about uh, so one
Oh,
more was a song that was it premiered on November 11th, 2020. Snuggie would be the first official requester of that song about 2 weeks later. It's funny for the first couple of weeks of playing it, you played it without anyone requesting it. It was just always included as part of the stream. I remember that. And so this is kind of the third track of this early era, if you will. Talk about some of the writing about this track, Katie, and maybe how it's a little bit different than the other two.
so this was the second song I ever wrote, and I wrote this song very much to just prove to myself that uh, Scars wasn't the one and only thing that I could ever write. That Scars wasn't a fluke, because they very much felt like I've never written before. I didn't. It didn't Scars, as much as it was well received, like it didn't feel like a real song to me. Um, and it was very difficult for me to come to terms with like, oh, like maybe I could actually try writing songs. Like maybe that's something that I'm capable of. And so one more was very much just like me stepping outside of my comfort zone again, I guess, and proving to myself that I could do that. And then the worst part is, and that I know that probably everybody here knows this, I hated that song. I did not like it. It made me so uncomfortable to play it every time because I was like, I'm not feeling it. Like I don't think this one's good. Um, and like the reason that I felt that way was because like it wasn't as powerful as Scars. Um, but also, and I think more so because the very first time that I played it for anyone, I played it um, for a family member whose very first response was, "Yeah, it's not as good as the last one." And I'm like,
Oh, I hate
"Thank
that. I hate when
you
people say
so
something like that.
much."
Why would you even say that? Oh, that's brutal.
So, and I was like, I understand where that comes from, but like man, that's not what I need to hear right now.
Yeah. Best thing
And
you've heard
so
today is the answer.
yeah, I was like, can we just focus on this song in its own right though, maybe? Like just how do we is it okay? Is it a song? And so I was honestly almost more scared to share that one with the community. Thankfully, also well received. Like everybody's been very supportive of that song. Very grateful again to Dan who made me actually like that song. I've never liked that song before in my life. Dan made me like it.
Yay.
Um, yeah, but yeah, that song again. It's another song about like kind of just like my experience with mental health struggles and um, just feeling like a broken pile of something. I don't know, just a mess of a person. And I remember when I first started writing it, I was just really overwhelmed with like feeling like, you know, I as a person was just broken and there was no fixing me. And trying to figure out how to articulate that and um going from things like oh like puzzle pieces and like you can't there's too many pieces missing and you can't put it back together and stuff like that. And when I first wrote it, it had a completely different first verse. I erased the entire first verse after I finished it and wrote a different one. And I am very glad that I did. So if anybody's out there writing songs and you're like, oh, I can't change it, I don't like this part, absolutely you can change it. It's your art. You do whatever you want with it. Sometimes it's better to change it than to leave it.
Yeah, it's interesting that Peter, who said he was going to sleep, but clearly is not going to sleep.
That was like an hour ago, Peter.
Right. Well,
Peter never sleeps.
him and Carly always do the long goodbyes. So Carly's also going to sleep, maybe. But he said that not gonna lie, One More is my favorite song of the release. And when it first came out, and I first listened to it, it was my favorite song on the one too. And so, which it surprised me. I was like, oh, the two that I've known the longest, with the first two, those are always going to be my favorite. Like, how could anything else? Compare with that. I think that that's one of the things I think you did, Dan, is that you brought the last three tracks of the album to that same level, which, I honestly going into it didn't think was possible. So, I mean, kudos to you for creating a well-rounded EP with a unique sound and this is a great example of that where I went into it, it wasn't, my favorite of Katie's songs. Not that it wasn't a song that I liked, but it wasn't it wasn't my favorite. Right. And so like, but to hear it in a reimagined way, it changed my opinion of it too. So, I think that it's changed how it's played on stream now.
Yep.
And so that's, yeah, you forever kind of changed the sound of that song, which is a cool thing in a collab situation.
Very cool.
Yeah. I play it on piano on stream now.
Oh, really?
And yeah. And then even at the
Ah.
EP release, I only played it on I only brought my guitar. I didn't bring the piano. And I was kind of trying to wrestling with how to play it on the guitar now that I've changed how I play it even on
Interesting. Oh,
stream.
that's very cool. Well, I mean, piano
Yeah.
is the best instrument ever made, right? So
Right. So you've won Katie over, which is
Yeah.
impressive,
that's awesome.
because that's not her primary instrument, and so for her to take that, and it's now a big part of it, and you have a couple of songs that you now do on piano,
Yeah.
so and you can even
Nice.
piano-fy things, I believe, using point redeems, so but yeah, it was it's really cool. So all right, let's get into the production side of it, Dan.
Sure. So this one, I feel like, was this the last one we did, Katie? Was this the fifth?
Um, yeah,
It's
I
hard.
think
I think it
so.
was. I think it
Yeah, I
was.
think it's the last one.
I think at this point in time, so there was kind of two things. I think one is like I said before, is that I think we just kind of found our groove in terms of I'd kind of figured out the sound that she was hearing in her head. So, so when she told me that the original version she didn't like at all, I'm like, okay, we're gonna go nuts. We're gonna go in a completely different direction. So this one probably, out of all the one, probably had the most other elements kind of thrown in there, just because she kind of gave me a little bit more, flexibility, just kind of go nuts, and I went nuts. I might have went too nuts, and she might have like, okay, pull back a couple things, but I think for the most part, she liked it when she
I
heard it.
think this was the one where like you sent me the first completed version and I was like, this is this is almost perfect. I have
Yeah,
so few notes.
yeah, and I was like, thank God.
Change nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so
Do
this
you have
was
a
a
rough
fun one.
estimate of how many hours it takes you to, create and produce things? Do you have, a sense on that, or do you just go into the night and have no idea, when you're going into production?
Like for me, like for production, like how long it takes.
Yeah.
Um, Usually I go on like just these benders. Like usually I like to just like when I get into something, it's just like I don't want to be interrupted. So like the studio's in the basement of my house. You know, my kids, whatever, my wife go to bed, and I'll just be down here for hours. So I don't really give myself a set time. I basically just keep going and going and going until I finally hear something that I think that sounds really good.
Do you jump between the tracks, or do you work on one till it's done?
Usually I'm kind of one until it's done. I tend to work better that way than jumping around. I think that's mostly how we worked. I think we
Mhm.
just kind of took it one at a time. We might have made a couple of small changes to earlier versions, but I think they
Yeah.
were pretty minimal by the end of the process. Um, so yeah, I mean, some tracks are quicker than others. I feel like this one was probably easier than some of the other ones, just because there was a little more flexibility and because she liked the initial version so much at the beginning that it just this one kind of came together a little bit faster. But yeah, I don't really have a set time. Like when I'm doing my own songs, I give myself 2 hours. If I don't come up with some kind of idea that I like, not a complete song, but some kind of initial idea in 2 hours, then I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm wasting my time. But with production, it's just basically just keep digging and digging, and it always gets worse before it gets better. Um, the more you keep adding things, the more you keep changing things, it's always going to get worse before it gets better. And then you get to a point where like, oh my God, I completely destroyed this song. I got to tell Katie, forget it, go find somebody else. And then I'm like, no, just take a deep
So
breath,
glad you
just
didn't.
dig, just keep digging, keep polishing. And then you always get to that point where you basically when I listen back to it, this is a really long answer to your very short question, but when I get to the point where I listen to it and I want to listen to it immediately again,
Mhm.
then I'm like, okay, we're getting somewhere. And then if I want to listen to it a third time, I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. What is Peter saying there? Peter, go to bed.
Just throwing it out there. I think it's one of the best Twitch artist producer combinations I've seen, but obviously I'm biased. I would agree. It's just so funny because I met you guys so separately, and but I was so happy that you guys connected. How did you guys
Thanks,
originally?
Peter.
Yeah, was Peter the connection?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was Pete.
yeah. There you
Yeah.
go. The matchmaker was
Um,
up.
yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if Katie was. I've produced for a few Twitch artists now. There's been one, two, three, four, I guess, four Twitch artists now.
Nice.
Katie was the third, maybe. Um, and Lauren was after that. Lauren again was through. Peter just goes and finds ways of connecting people. He's just one of those fantastic dudes.
I
That
mean,
we're
without
all.
Peter, I would never have met you, Dan. I mean,
There you go.
having you on
It
the
all comes back to
radio.
Peter.
Absolutely incredible. Peter,
Yeah,
This
thank
is
Peter, we
the
love
you.
you, buddy.
By
We
the way,
love
this is the
you.
longest Peter has modded any of my streams, I think, in the history of thing. And he's been a mod since the beginning. But I appreciate him staying up at 3 in the morning, his time, which is wild. But I do have to give a quick shout out. The Pokemon community game. I saw that you got a Piplup, which is one of my favorite Pokemon. And I love that you have a Piplup there, which is amazing. Congratulations on that. Welcome to the addiction that is the Pokemon community.
Thank
I'll
you.
help you. I'll help you install it on your channel so that people can be addicted and get Pokemon dollars and play the game over there. Yeah, it's it's pretty wild. It's a lot of fun. I've set it up on Kane's channel and many others, including Primordial Sounds and I think we got it on Carly's too. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Anyway, if people are wondering what the heck we're talking about, there's a Pokemon in the upper corner that appears every 15 minutes that people can catch as a chat. And it's a fun way to bring engagement into chat. And I've actually the creators are wonderful. So it's one of the coolest Twitch extensions that exist. So I'm a big fan of them. And I brought it to Josh's channel, a lot of Twitch music. I even talked to them like, I'm going to bring it all over Twitch music. It's going to be the wildest thing.
I started playing Pokemon Go in April, at the beginning of April, and it's spiraled.
Yes, we're good, good, good. I saw Ryan Vatty Flat Guy was in chat earlier, and part of the Bill Hendo raid train. He played some Pokemon last night to end the raid train, which I thought was great because Bill and us really enjoyed Ryan's first time he did that and spent a lot of time together. So thought it was a great way to pay homage to him. So Pokemon is a great way to combine people all over the world. So anyway, enough of the Pokemon topic. Anyone who knows me, I will talk Pokemon forever. No, it's good. I do want to just give a quick little shout out to my animals because they're so freaking cute. People love stream animals. That's Lily over there, and that's Neville. I just figured they've been sleeping right next to me this whole entire time, so I thought I would give them a little bit of a shout out. Anyway, this song, I just love what you did with it. The piano is great. I love that, you kind of start a journey in my mind with this one, and it sort of goes into the next two songs in a very real way. I feel like there is some sort of connection between those three songs now, at least for me. And my kids too, they request them all in order, partially because I put it in the video, but partially, it's a great way to get them to like both of your music, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a cool way. I think both of your music's, well, I mean, I guess it's all produced by Dan. It lends itself so easily to be with a visual medium, and I think that says a lot about the production value and the quality that you guys put into this. And yeah, so Dan, any other final thoughts on this one, and then we'll move on to All Never.
Yeah, no, I think we mostly talked about just more kind of elements like you can kind of see. I think actually for this one, sorry, I'm scrolling up and down really fast, but just kept her vocal tracks.
Yeah.
And then everything else. Yeah, everything else was added. So I added some electric guitar. Everything else is MIDI. In fact, I think even I have some MIDI guitar in there for some of the parts, which I ran through a bunch of effects and stuff. Yeah.
I have a random question just because I'm just curious.
Yeah.
In this program, you could isolate tracks, like so we could just hear the piano part that underlays it in there. Yeah. So could we just hear the vocals on the piano and see what that just sounds like just as its own thing?
We could definitely do that.
I just thought that'd be kind of a cool way to strip it back even a little bit more and just sort of see, where it was without the other, parts and the elements to it. I don't
absolutely
do that.
Let me see here. This should do it. Okay, I'll hear the beginning of it.
Thank you for all the gift subs. You guys are incredible today.
Should do like a piano vocal remix, maybe.
Yeah.
So many battles left upon my shelves. Can't take them down without a war against myself. So the tears keep falling down my face. Yeah. And on my lips I can't forget the way they taste.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
So that's it sounds beautiful. Just
on. That's how I play it on stream now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna have to come. I haven't been in other people's streams a whole lot at all, but I'm gonna have to come in and request it now.
Somebody actually asked in chat earlier if you had ever been to a Katie stream. So like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, we definitely have. I've rated her once or twice, and she's
yeah,
for sure. It's been a while though.
Yeah. So we'll have to have you back for sure. Yeah. All right. Well, let's we can move on just for timing purposes. I mean, you can see the three of us can talk for a long time about anything. But I do want to get to the last two because I do want to talk also about what you guys are up to post EP and talk a little bit about the EP release party as well because we kind of previewed that the last time I was with Katie as well. So let's talk about the next one, which is All Never, which is kind of a newer track premiering on the song list on April 29th, 2022. It's got a very similar vibe as we've been talking about to One More. So I just think that they lend themselves so well together, this sort of storyline that I've been talking about. But Katie, talk about the creation of this song and the writing process of that.
So this song is a song that I think to this day is still on my troll song list because it just makes me a little uncomfy. Um, so I am. I'm not gonna go into this. So if anybody has questions about this, feel free to like message me about it and or come to stream and ask me about it. But I'm demisexual, and so I don't normally experience attraction to other people. So writing I'll Never was such a weird experience for me. Because it's very much just like about having feelings for someone who's just like not right, and you're like, this is a terrible idea. This is not good. And I started writing it with the chorus, and I had no idea where it came from. Like it just kind of came out of nowhere for me, and I just was inspired by a melody that I heard somewhere else that is not even close to the same. But it just sparked something in me where I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to work on this kind of like playing around the same word and just um, using kind of interpreting that word in different ways. And so I wrote I'll Never, or it's why do I want you? I shouldn't want you. I can't want you. And you know, um, then I had to finish the song and was like, oh no, I don't know how to write this. Um, and so initially I kind of started with past experiences I had feelings for one person before writing the song. And so I was like, okay, well, like what was that experience like? And wrote the first verse based on that. And then like the rest of the song came from like I started to develop feelings for somebody who's very not they're not good. It's not a good experience. And so that's what I wrote that song.
Yeah. I the power of this song. Like yes, I just think that the vocals, the energy, it's just there's something about this. Yeah, I played it on loop when it first came out. I was like, wow, what a and it's not the way that I remember it being, on stream. And so I just felt like it was
Yeah.
such a departure, but such a really unique sound to it. I guess that's a good segue. Dan, we can bring in the production side of it.
For sure. There we go.
Yeah, this one
All
looks
right.
a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, this one I think this one was one of the ones we made a lot of changes to, if memory serves me.
Yeah, this is the one where after the first version or the first or the second version that you sent me, I was like, can we actually just strip this back to just
Yeah.
vocal guitar and like start from scratch? And I sent like a whole new reference playlist for it. And then I was like,
Right.
I don't even care if there's actually guitar in there. I haven't decided if I want that there, but like
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
need
so
to
this
start from square one.
yeah, it went through a lot of changes. So I think if you can see, I think I actually color coded. This is how crazy this one got. I had to start color coding things, but if you see like these 10 tracks down the bottom, these were a bunch of stuff that I had added to one of the other versions that was just like, it was like, no, she wasn't loving it. Um, so we just kept kind of, going through and pulling things out and putting things back. But I mean, you always keep those elements in there in case In case she's like, remember that thing from like version 2 where you
Yeah,
had
which
that?
I do
Because
sometimes. I think I did that a couple of times where I was like, can we
yeah,
go back to this version of this?
yeah, because once or twice I was like, I mean, what you should do is what I should do is what I'm saying is I should have had separate project files for each version. Like I'll never volume 1, but I don't think I did with this one. So sometimes if she didn't like it, I would just be like delete, like throw it out, and then she's like, remember what you did? I'm like, I gotta go back and like recreate it.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
like the first version that you sent me after we stripped it back, I immediately loved.
yeah.
Like there was still some small like minor
Right.
feedback, but like it was immediately just like exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah. And that happens. I mean, sometimes, like you said, you gotta. I think I even said that to you once. At one point through the project, I gave Katie a heart attack because I was like, "What do you think about starting the whole thing over from the beginning, like recording and everything?"
I was like,
she's
no.
like, "What are you talking about?" And the only reason I said that is that not because what we had wasn't good, but from a producer standpoint, you kind of want to be there from the beginning. You know what I mean? Like you want to be there when the parts are getting recorded, so that you know what you have and what you don't. But we didn't do that. Luckily, we just kept going because Katie was like, "What? Are you nuts?" She didn't say that, but I could tell by the sound of her voice that was like, "No, let's not do that." So yeah, so we just, you add stuff, you pull it back out, you just keep throwing stuff until it sticks. Some of this seems like it seems like there's more tracks than there are. I call these Dambient Dambient guitar tracks because I was like differentiating between, Dambient is my nickname for those who don't know on Twitch. So just so I could differentiate between her guitar tracks and mine. But when I'm recording, I never punch in, punch out. I always do a new track and I just keep duplicating so that it's just easier to mix. So sometimes the projects look bigger than they are. Just because you can see how this could have all easily been on one track, these vocals, but for mixing standpoint, it's much easier to keep it separate. So it looks crazier than it is.
It's funny because I obviously work in Final Cut and Photoshop, but I do a lot of the same things, especially in Photoshop, where I create folders, duplicate the whole, project, and then start over. And so that way I can just go into a folder and pull back, things if we end up wanting to use elements or change it out. And I can't tell you how helpful that is, especially when you are going through a multi-process things, because often my
Right.
boss will want, here, give me 4 different examples of this. We're going to go back to example 2 is the one I'm going to then now add and
Right.
change. And I can understand it from that point of view.
Yeah, it's just something. These are things that I've learned over the years that you have to get like I call it a really good static mix where all the faders are, sorry, I'm gurgling here, where all the faders are right where I want them. And then it's just easier if we need to change one part of one vocal. It's just easier to do it like that with a fader than otherwise you have to go into
many
like
times.
yeah, otherwise you have to go into like automation and then it starts to get really messy because you're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So
It's so
yeah.
crazy because I love that board view just a second ago because it reminds me of like when you watch on TV the big, mixer boards and, like, these big time things. And it's just so cool that we can do it all digitally now in a way that you don't need to have a giant mixer board and you can still produce a sort of very dynamic sound using it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And like I did learn, like I did a year of audio engineering, so I did learn, on actual boards, a few different boards, and it's been a while. I'm sure I could figure out how to do it again, but I'm so used to software now that it's just, you get used to it.
Yeah, it's the great equalizer. Let's play a little bit of this song and so that way people can hear a little bit of it and
Sure.
any final thoughts we have on it, and then we can move on to the last track.
Sounds good. Let me play a little. I'll get it from here.
Every time I see your face, every time you say my name, I can't look away, no.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to really choose a favorite, but
They're all so good, but I just
yeah,
love how you're building through the vocal part and then the piano, and it's just like I don't know, it's the pacing is so good in it.
it's all about supporting the vocal. It's all about
Yeah.
like just supporting it without getting in the way. And actually, one of the things Katie talked about earlier, I just noticed when I was looking at this now, but she had recorded vocals in a different studio, different mics. So this would be one of the cases you can see up here. This is a Sony mic, and I can't remember what the other one was.
Yeah,
Um,
there were th three mics on me for the first of vocal takes for most of the songs, except for one more where I just had one microphone and it wasn't the same as any of the others.
Right. So sometimes that could be tricky because some of the takes were better and they were done on a different mic, which opens up a whole other can of worms because then you're having to EQ things to match the other vocals, and sometimes it's really hard to do because each mic has its kind of unique characteristic.
Hmm.
So you just have to kind of mess around with the EQ and effects and stuff like that. But yeah,
And I know that we've paused the song just right here, but like the next line, it's to this day one of my favorite lines to sing because it's just so I don't know. There's something very fun about just like letting go and just going right into that higher, like belty note where it's just this one in particular. And I think I wrote this song originally on like fret 6 or something, and then I decided I wanted to put it on fret 8 on the guitar, and then I accidentally played it on fret 10, and I was like, I like this better, so I left it there. And this that one line that just like the I'll never have you, just where that hits in my vocal range feels so open for me. I'm just kind of leaning into that. It makes me feel
Yeah, it's incredible to watch like your vocal performance on stream and just like how much you go for it, and it's just really a cool thing to just sort of let go, which is kind of like the feeling of that song. And yeah, I don't know, it's just such an inspirational thing just to sort of I can't sing at all, so just to watch that sort of process and to then have that be emulated through the music as well to sort of champion and kind of get it along is really cool to sort of listen to the build of it for sure. And you put it on the wrong Clippy thing.
yeah, exactly. By accident, but best accident ever.
yeah.
Yeah,
What I was gonna say about the vocals too is that I could really tell listening that yeah, you just like went all out, which I really appreciate because sometimes what happens, especially in a studio environment, is especially if people are doing it they're relatively new, is that you freeze up and everything just kind of sounds closed and there's people watching and there's it's a busy place and somebody in the booth and they're like everything freezes up and then usually everything suffers as a result. But I could hear the takes that man she just really went for it, and it really shows in the final product.
It was very scary. But I was really grateful because the studio that I recorded in, the vocal booth is like totally separate from everything else. And so like the sound booth is on the other side and I can't see anybody while I'm recording.
nice.
Nice. Well, that makes a big difference. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because I think it's much more like your Twitch experience almost. Like I know that you see people chatting through, but it's not like you
Yeah,
have
like I
others
know they're
on.
there, but I
Right.
can't see them. So
Right. Yeah, exactly. Did you earlier takes, did you freeze up more? Did you like grow into that, or did you nail it on some of the earlier takes and then yeah.
so when I first was playing guitar, I sung along with the guitar, which I think helped me kind of acclimate to just singing the vocals in the booth. Um, but I also did like I did a few takes of songs that I wasn't working on that we weren't going to produce, um, literally just to get myself used to singing in the recording studio. So
Yeah. That's wild. It's so cool that through the internet and through this that you can have different like you produce it at one place, you can EQ it and things like that. See, for me, like I work as a visual medium, so you can kind of like open things up with raw and visuals, and you can change the colors and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to hear how with sounds you can manipulate sort of it to emulate some of the other sounds that you're trying to get to. And it's just kind of an interesting process, right? understand, they try to get that sound across, especially with a different mic and a different take and all that. So I know that must be challenging for sure.
Sorry, my community is reminding me that I accidentally called them imaginary, like that they're not real.
Outrageous.
It's true.
You're real. I know you're there and you are real and I appreciate you. I'm just scared if I think about it.
Yeah,
It's always better to not think about it.
it's interesting because there's obviously for every one in chat, there's probably four people lurking, right? So like, that's kind of even a wilder thing. I always think about that in streaming, and some people could watch things back later, and so I mean that's why I get it. I was terrified when I first did it. And people don't really know what it's like to be on the other side of the camera, especially a lot of people that are viewers only and never experienced that. It's definitely a very different situation. Oh my God, you're gonna go. Wow. He just filled my entire gold bar that I had initially set up. But thank you so much. Yeah, so Ali is pretty amazing member of the community, Voice Unmuted, and well, you guys are a very special community. I'm so lucky that I got to find, Katie so early on, and I still think about that stream that you did with Josh and the duets, and I think that's still one of the coolest streams I've ever seen on Twitch. You guys crushed that one. I think of big moments in Twitch that that will forever stay with me, and because I it was so wild because I had seen you gone on one stream and then I went and saw the stream you guys did together. I was like, wait, she's there? Like I didn't even know that you knew Josh at the time. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, that's wild. Like, and I don't know. It's been cool to see your growth and being able to perform in front of other people. And obviously, after we talk about the next song, I do want to talk about the EP release party because that was such a cool moment to have people from the community from all over the world come and share your music. And I just think that that's such a cool, part of this process. And I know that you were probably terrified, but I'm so happy that you did it because it was such a great opportunity for the community to come together and celebrate you and this amazing accomplishment of putting this EP out there. Because I really feel in some ways putting this out there opens up the doors for you to continue to do more. And because you've seen how
Yeah.
much people relate to it. And one note that I had, I was looking through the stats a little bit on Spotify. I was just so impressed about almost all of the songs, have been, streamed to about 10,000, 11,000 times, which is really impressive for an EP because usually there's like one or two songs that people really, really fall in love with, and that's the ones that are going to get significantly more, listens to. But this pretty much assures me that people just played the EP straight through on loop, like they want to keep on hearing all of the songs, right? Because
Yeah.
there's not one and it's actually interesting that I'll Never, this song that we're talking about right now, is actually the most listened to track of all of them. Which I think
Yeah.
going into it I wouldn't have expected, right? So,
Me
um,
neither.
yeah, so like I just think that that's really cool that people gravitated to the whole thing as an EP because I love that. I mean, when I was growing up, I loved concept albums, I loved EPs, I love and I feel like we've kind of moved away from that as a society. A lot
Yeah.
of single releases, or even albums, but EPs are kind of this art form of themselves. So I really love that they're these, just small blocks of songs that you can just, keep on listening to on loop. And I just think it
Mhm.
was a really cool way to release this music. And because I know you released two songs prior to that, but I'm happy that you decided to release this as a bunch instead of them
Yeah. I'm
individually.
very big on releasing things just like as a whole. I know that it's better for playlisting, it's better for the algorithm, it's better for promoting if you're releasing one song at a time. Like if you want to release an album or an EP, like any man, I don't have one, but any manager would tell you that you're crazy. Like that's a stupid idea, and you should like it's not going to work out very well. Thank you all very much for proving them wrong. I think it very much helps like that these are all songs that I play on stream, that these are songs that everybody knows and loves already. And just like being able to release them all and seeing people still check it out and listen to the whole EP is insane. But yeah, I'm very much like, I just want to put it all out at once. I don't want to wait. I can't sit on it. What
Yeah,
can I say?
it's interesting because I talked to different creators on this platform and other platforms about, release structures and, do you release all of the songs or individually and then do an EP and then a full LP and, having the same songs multiple times out there, but in different, things. And it's a huge process, right?
Yeah.
And I am so thankful that you released it all at once because I love that, concept. It just brings me back to the day where you throw a CD in a CD player and you
Yeah.
listen to it, or or even a tape or a mixtape that you give to a friend or something. And I still love making playlists for the people that I love. I think that that's such a like almost a dying art form,
Yeah.
right? I don't get to make a mixtape anymore, but I'll make a playlist for my kids or whatever. And so I just love that you could have that and we can all enjoy it together as a sort of a concept because I really do feel like it is a concept album. It has a
Mhm.
tie through it. It's not like, because you could have 5 songs that you've written ahead of time that don't have a string that goes through all of them. But I do honestly feel, especially these last 3 tracks, that there is this common feel that I've at least felt through it. And with that, I think we'll move into the EP song.
Gotcha.
How was it always going to be the EP title? Um, or did that come about because after you made the song, or was that always your vision? And
Um, when I first wrote these songs, like I had no intention of releasing them at all. I didn't see having my songs produced or out on Spotify as like an option or something that I would ever want to pursue. So like I very much got into this because of encouragement from the Twitch community. And like for this EP, I struggled with it a lot. Like at first, I was scared, and then I was excited when I first started to hear things come together, and then I hated them, and then I was like, I don't even care anymore. I don't even care anymore. And then finally liking them again, I was excited again, still scared. um, but it's such a surreal experience for me. Um, and I don't know. So yeah, I guess I kind of decided as soon as I decided that I wanted to release music, I knew that I wanted honestly to be the title track of an EP. It just felt like that's such a cool name for an EP. I liked it. And like because of that, I also have every intention of like further down the line at some point, I want to put out, most likely it'll be an LP that's called Pretty Lies because I think that's a great follow up to Honestly.
yeah,
And it's like one of my songs, it's kind of got 2 titles. It's like the one title, but then there's something else in brackets, and the bracketed part is Pretty Lies. And
yeah, no, that's great. I love that you have a vision for the future and that the music can do that. It's interesting though, because usually when it's a title song, it's not usually the last
the
song.
last
Like,
song.
so like, often it's number 3. I look on average, if you
Yeah.
look at it, they usually put it as like the 3rd song. But it's usually of an LP, rarely,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I thought this was an interesting choice, which I still love it, but you kind of have to wait for it and listen through the EP to get it. So I think that that's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Was the track listing in the order, was that do you always have a vision of it going in that order, or how did you decide that?
I very much decided that by just playing through the beginning and the end of each of my songs that I was planning to put on it and figuring out like how it flowed best from song to song. And so like honestly is the last track 100% just because like it just fit best there. Musically, it felt right. So to me, I'm like I decided the title of the EP because that was what seemed coolest to me of the songs. And then I decided the order just based on how they sounded. So
But the order based, do you know all 5 songs were going to be that order before
yeah.
you worked with Dan? Or was that
Before I
something?
worked with Dan, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But not before I started the production process.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a part of the DNA of the creation of the process too.
Mhm.
Is always interesting because it's something I work in a very different way. But when I'm making a video and I have multiple different songs, I have to decide what the order of the songs are going to be. And so how do they flow into each other?
Yeah.
What's that feeling? How do you don't want to have this sharp change, so like, I think it's interesting that makes sense how you went through the process. But it's a challenge, and it's why I still picked all three songs to go in that order, because I do think that they sounded right in my mind. So it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense for that. All right, Dan, do you want to do the production button
Let's
thing?
do it.
All right.
So just a little fun fact. This one was one of the least versions out of all the songs we did. We only there was only five versions of this one.
Wow.
Yeah, whereas opposed to I think it might have been Scars that we did the most.
I think there was like 9 for Scars
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like that.
Yeah. So yeah, this one I'm trying to think of other little kind of fun facts, but let me see. Why don't I play a little bit of it, and maybe some things will come back to me. Here, let's start from the beginning.
We were solid as a rock, I thought, and we were growing. But we were two tectonic plates diverging, and I didn't know it. When did you depart? Thought I had it all, but I was wrong. Maybe I'm naive, I thought you were the answer, but now I don't know what to believe. Wish I could restart. Oh, 'cause I'm tired of the empty words and unkept promises. I'm so sick of heartfelt messages. Just string me along again. Could you be honest? Do you know it is honest? And everybody's listening, thinking you're so deep. They don't know that you are just a shell. There's nothing underneath. Could you be honest? Do you know it is honest? You were a convincing liar, I'll give you that.
Yeah, I wanted to play a little bit of that transition. I know we worked on that a
I
lot.
think
The
that was
transition.
I think that was the main thing. Like that was the reason that we had so many versions of this one. Like we didn't need 5 other than just to get that smooth that transition out.
Yeah, that's the hardest part when you're building up, because it's such a big chorus and you want it to be big. But then how do you get small again without everything just sounding like, right?
Yeah.
That's
I
always the
definitely
hardest
don't
thing.
make that easy when I write my song.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty common. Like, I think just transitions in general are just the hardest parts to get right, and it's changed so much in like music production. Like you hear that now. I'm trying to think of like Billie Eilish, like Phineas's production work, where things just drop out, just like it's almost like very, very sudden, and that it becomes kind of like an effect on its own. But it's hard. It's a really hard thing to get right. I feel like there's a really big bridge later on, isn't there, in the song? Is it with the big bridge? There's a big like kind of
It like builds up and then also pulls back.
yeah, there's a big build up in this one. Yeah.
I was thinking about the drumming in it. That's always like my go-to. If I did play an instrument, which I don't, it would definitely be the drums. And for me, I love, the rhythm and how it brings you up, especially through that. And as you said, how it falls off from that, so that way you can have that moment of rest before it builds again, right? Is such a key component to this song. And I just think that you nailed it. And, I'm curious, when you're writing drum parts, how do you were you using certain like source material or things that that Katie liked, or how do you build those drums up like that?
Yeah, it's probably a combination of the stuff that she sent me and the playlists, and probably stuff from the original reference mix. But mostly so I record all the drum parts always separately. So each part individually, or sometimes I'll record it so it's a finger drumming, magical finger drumming, these fingers right here. sometimes I'll record it all at once just because I'm so used to doing that on Twitch now, live looping, and then I'll separate the individual parts out. But I try to follow. It's usually the guitar or the feel of the song, and I really try to closely follow that, and try not to fall into too much of a rhythm, so it sounds like it's just a generic track. You got to get the fills just right and make it sound just very, very natural. So it's a lot of trial and error. The drum parts to make electronic drums sound realistic probably is one of the most challenging things. That and probably the vocals you're gonna spend the most time on production. Vocals is always you're gonna spend the most time on. But yeah, quite a few different kind of drum tracks in there. But yeah, it's fun though. I like it. I like finger drumming. It sounds erotic, but it's not. But it's really trying to just like, anytime I'm doing an instrument, I try to embody that instrument. And even when I'm doing like the MIDI guitar tracks, like I play a little bit of guitar, obviously, but sometimes it's just easier to lay something down with a MIDI track. And sometimes it's just more fun to just play actual real guitar. Like I think on this one, I add some acoustic guitar and some electric guitar, just because it's more fun. It's fun to play real instruments. So
I'm happy that you would do play some real instruments, and there's real instruments on all these songs. I think that
dirty MIDI. Sorry.
Yeah, I think
I saw that and was like,
that sounds so wrong, doesn't it? I should explain what that is. Sorry, Rob, I cut you off.
All right, go for it.
Yeah. So that's literally okay. What the hell is that? What did I use there? Okay, that's Guitar Rig. So what I did was I opened up the sampler, which is just like Logic's built-in instrument, and it's like this clean electric guitar, and on its own it sounds like horrible. It's that, wait, I wonder if I can, yeah, there it is. Okay, hang on, I can play it for you. On its own it sounds like this. It's like the most horrible, awful sound imaginable.
It sounds like somebody trying to learn some notes, you know.
Yeah, then you run it through Guitar Rig, and then all of a sudden you get this like killer sound.
Right.
That is a dirty guitar.
It's a dirty, dirty as in like distorted. Yeah, right. That's what it is.
That's okay. That's what I call it on stream too. When I'm just like, do you want it clean or do you want it dirty?
Right.
I prefer a dirty bitty.
Right.
Never read comments out loud.
GoldenEye.
That sounds like that's an Aerosmith song, isn't it?
Right.
Dirty bitty.
It kind of reminds me almost like Linkin Park though, and like the distortion that they put on stuff like that. You know, it kind of gives me that, you know, early 2000s vibe. You know, which I loved that era. So I love that distortion stuff. It reminds me a lot of Primordial Sounds. Plays a lot with those types of distortions on stream, and I think it's cool to have that underlying, some of this track as well. Just because I think you need some variance, from the piano. I think that adds some texture to it for sure.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a little firepower, and usually what happens is there's just some parts that they're a little bit more technically challenging for me to play on guitar. So at that point, you can either shop it out to another guitar player, or I could just like MIDI it and I could make it sound exactly like a guitar. So Guitar Rig is also really good on any kind of acoustic instrument. Like I've used it on violins before.
Cool.
Yeah, Guitar Rig is it's absolutely sick. It's such an incredibly useful production tool.
Yeah.
Shout out to Guitar Rig.
Yeah.
This is not an ad, but
yeah, no, I don't work for them, but I would.
Do you use different plugins for this than you do on your live streaming with your Ableton, or do some of them talk to each other?
Some of it overlaps. Like I always have my favorite sounds. There's probably some overlap.
The plugins work for both though, or?
Yeah, for the most part. Like I used to use a lot of Battery 4 from Native Instruments. For whatever reason, Battery and Ableton don't get along. I'm not sure why this is. So when I was doing my Ableton template for Twitch, I had a bunch of battery in there just because it's a really cool library, but it just doesn't seem to work very well for whatever reason. So there's probably more instances of battery when I'm producing stuff, and less so in my. There's no battery in my Twitch streams, so it's
Yeah.
a little bit of both.
Interesting. So, Kate, I have a question. Would you ever think about doing like remixes of songs and stuff like that? Or once a song is done, we're moving on to the next song?
I'm very much someone who wants to move on to the next song.
Yeah.
Um, Not because I think that like this is the be all and end all of each song. It's just that I am what I well, for in this particular case, it's very much that there's another project that I'm very excited for, and I want to get started on that. So I haven't really thought about other stuff to do with this EP, but I also am very much like I it drives me crazy when I'm like listening to an artist's discography and I hear the same song like four times. It drives me nuts. I just want to play. I want to hear all of your songs. I don't want to hear the same song four times. So I don't like to release the same song multiple times.
That's fair. And I go back and forth on it because, some artists I love, their remixes, and I think that there has been some really cool things with collabs with other people out there. But I also understand your point of view where it's like I don't want 10 versions of the song. Or like my least favorite is when they like release a remix like album where it's like 11 versions of the same song. It's just one, track where I get it, but like, but it'd just be interesting to hear, if the stems ever got out there, how people could
Yeah.
rearrange it and do different things with it. I'm always
Yeah,
in-
I think it's interesting to think about and to hear like different perspectives and different takes on the songs. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I don't know right now, but I
I was just
typically
curious.
I don't like to have the same song multiple times. Like there are some songs where I love every version of it, but
Mhm.
like I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to really like it, you know?
And yeah, definitely for sure. I was just curious how artists feel about things like that because I know Dan does revisit some of his music and releases alternate versions of it, later on, which have very different vibes. And I know that Twitch has obviously inspired some of that. You know.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason for that is that I'm never happy with whatever version I put out. I'm always like, because especially on Twitch, because they evolve over time, and then quite
Mhm.
often what happens is performing the song on Twitch for 6 months. At the end of the 6 months, the song is so much better. So that I'm like, oh man, I should have put out that version. But
Yeah.
it can be a dangerous thing, and I agree with Katie's thinking is that I think it's always better to just always be moving forward, and always be putting out new stuff. It's kind of a dangerous thing to get into to revisit old material because then you're spending time on stuff. Holy cow, Peter's going nuts here, buddy.
God,
Oh,
Jesus.
Peter.
Yeah,
And then
Peter.
we were getting so many, oh my God, this is the most subs I've ever had, I think, on my channel.
Nice. Well
Yeah.
deserved.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate all the love tonight. You guys are all very sweet. And now there's so many explosions. No one's gonna see us for a little bit on that emote wall. But I really do appreciate Peter for staying up till way too late. But thank you for being a huge part of a lot of our lives. And a big reason why I got to meet Dan,
Me
originally,
too. Good
and
to work with.
so
Thank you, Peter.
yeah, it's 4 a.m. Yeah, I was trying to do the math. It's
Peter,
wild.
get some sleep.
Yes, yes. The
Seriously.
VOD will be there. I will put it on my YouTube
We
channel, even if it gets somehow not up there.
We'll
So
still love you after you
love you,
wake up, Peter.
Peter. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. Take care
Go
of
sleep.
yourself.
yes, yes, especially if you have work tomorrow or something. Oh my God. But you are very nice, and I really appreciate all of that, for sure. And thank you all for being a part of this. This has been such a fun stream. It's been really interesting to hear some of the process, and I'm happy we're able to sort of document this time period. And I know that Katie wants to produce more music in the future. And I know that Dan has released, some of those mixes that he's been making, usually on Tuesdays, but sometimes other days of the week. Um, And so I love that on Bandcamp, and I think that is really cool to see you guys work through this process. And so you guys started in October, I want to say, and then you guys it was in March that it was released. I'm trying to remember the timeline.
Something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
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 So it was pretty cool. So talk about the reception of it, Katie, and the release. Oh my God, now! Oh my God, now the bull.
Whoa, boom.
Nice.
What? What? This is wild. I, I've never been on the other side of it. I've watched this happen to Katie a lot of times, but I've never seen this myself. So thank you guys. You guys are wild. This is crazy. I'm sorry that you can't see us now. It's never been like a problem. No one's ever gifted more than like two subs before for like little explosions. So I never really thought that was.
Oh,
Oh my
snap,
God.
It makes
Pete.
me so happy to see all the hype that's happening. Like this is
Hype.
incredible. And
Wow.
thank you guys. This
You
is
guys are so sweet.
amazing.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. I feel like they're battling to be the stream boss, which Peter and I just over again. It's kind of hilarious to watch it go back and forth. But oh my God, you guys are amazing. And it's cool. One just went to Ryan, that E flat guy. Shout out to Ryan,
Amazing.
who, started by watching, Katie's streams and then became a streamer himself. And this week I get to meet Ryan in person. He's actually staying in the room right over here, and coming to the Emily Henry show. So I'm really
I'm so
excited
jealous.
to meet him in person. So
Jealous of all of that.
yes, so that'll be awesome. I will be recording the concert hopefully, and Ryan doesn't know this yet, but I'm enlisting his help with trying to figure out the best angles for the video. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm really excited for this weekend, and it's been such a fun conversation with you guys. But I do know that it's almost 11, so I do want to be mindful of both of your time. So I do want to talk real quickly about the reception of it. First of all, we haven't talked about the album artwork, so I do want to mention that real quickly, because it is behind Katie. Let me see. Dan, why don't you?
Oh, yeah, I can stop my screen share.
And then we can take a look at that a little bit more and talk about that. So, can you talk about the process for creating the album artwork?
Yeah, so I watched a lot of artists on like TikTok and Instagram. I know that there's like tons that you can scroll through. I'm like, I just want to see so much art. I think it's so cool and incredible. Because people using their talents to create such amazing, amazing things. And I came across this one artist who is also Canadian, and she did a lot of like landscape work, but then she kind of started venturing into portraits. And I was like, these are so cool looking.
Yeah,
And
they're
I love
really
this so much.
awesome.
Yeah. So I reached out to her like when I first started producing the album, and I sent her the lyrics and was like, I have like an idea of something that I might like for the artwork, but I really would love for you to just go through the lyrics and see what themes you can pull out and what you come up with. And I fully just gave her complete artistic license, and she sent me back some options, and then I took my favorites of those and I posted them on my Patreon and was like, hey guys, vote for the artwork. Like, what do you guys want to
That's
see?
amazing. I love that. I love pulling people in through Patreon. I think it's a really great way to organize with your community and give people
Yeah.
little tidbits and a little special thank you, for
Yeah.
that. And
I
I
think
love
it was
it.
cool.
Yeah.
I think that this poll was also like a public post, so anybody could go and vote
Oh,
for
nice.
it. So
Yeah. That's awesome. So you also did some shoots that you put on Instagram with some cool like
yeah.
headshots and stuff like that. Who took those pictures and how did that come about?
So that was Dorta's photography, Daniel Dorta. He is a fellow Torontonian. Um, I met him at a friend's EP release. And it was funny because I met him because he recognized me from my previous photo shoot where I'd worked with his best friend. And
Oh
I had
wow.
no idea. And so he was like, hey, you worked with Jay, right? And I was like, yeah. and he's like, I recognize your face.
That's
I'm like,
fun.
oh, cool. Like, and then we didn't really connect then. I had no idea who he was. But I started going to kind of events that the both of them were at, where they were both event photographers. And then I literally searched a hashtag from those events to find Dan again
That's
because
awesome.
I really liked his work.
Gotta love a good
Um,
hashtag. So, um,
yeah,
that's great. I love them. I was going through them to pick a picture for us to do for this, promo and
yeah.
stuff like that. It's fun. I love the blue vibes and sort of the theme that you did through it. And
Yeah, 100% we built the Pinterest boards and the concept for the photo shoot just based on that painting.
yeah,
I fully sent Dan a message just being like, "Hey, wondering if you could help me do a photo shoot for my upcoming EP. I already have artwork for the EP itself, but I just really want some promotional material. Um, can we create a photo shoot concept based on this painting?"
nice. I love it. I love that. I love art when it inspires other art and
Yeah.
it goes through, a process like that. I think that's a really a cool way to go about it. So talk a little bit about the release of it. Last time we talked to you was right before you were gonna do the EP release party, but talk a little bit about that real quick.
So I was slightly insane. And I planned that entire EP release party by myself.
Yeah. The amount of
And
work
like
you put into that.
I
Oof.
went with a venue also that like isn't typically a music venue, so they don't do any of the if you go to a music venue, like they take care of the bar, they take care of tickets and all of that. I didn't do that. I had to do all of the things by myself. And like I had so many people offer help. So to everybody who's probably in chat, like, hey, we were here for you. And I'm like, I know, I appreciate it so much, but I'm a strong, independent woman and also mostly just very stubborn.
I would
um,
have taken the help, but I understand why you didn't. But it turned out great. So you crushed it, even though it probably took months to put together. So
yeah,
um
it was a very hectic week, but it was and yeah, I literally started putting things together months in advance. And I also like little things where like I wanted physical tickets. A I love physical copies of things. I still buy CDs. I have a CD player. Um, I I love physical tickets. And the site that I was using to like sell tickets, it was just digital tickets. So I took the barcode from each of those physical tickets and like manually added them to each person's physical ticket. Just made like 70 unique tickets and um it was insane. And then I made badges because I was like, where it's going to be a lot of people who have never interacted off of stream. And so I give people the option of like, do you want your username? Do you want your first name? What do you like? What's the vibe? And everybody kind of got to do whatever was they were most comfortable with and just have that on a badge to keep forever, um, which was cool and a lot of fun. So that honestly took a lot of the time was just making those, cutting them out, putting the badges in those little like the cases for them and attaching lanyards and whatnot. So it was a process.
yeah, that's awesome. I love that people all got together and did other stuff, around,
Yeah.
the
Oh, that was so
area,
cool.
and so that's awesome. Yeah, I'm hoping to get to Toronto for the first time, this coming fall actually. So I'm excited. So I've never actually been to Canada, which is wild to me.
Nice.
Will you be
Welcome to
coming to
Canada.
Toronto?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm coming to Toronto. So I'm very excited for that. Liz was trying to do a surprise birthday party or birthday thing for me, and I found out. So I felt I opened the wrong
You
app.
ruined it.
So I ruined it. So anyway, but I'm still very excited to go. But so shout out to her if she's still listening in chat. Ruined it. There it is. Ruined it. Yep. So My bad. But anyway, I'm very excited to come up there and see what it's like up there. It's been cool through Twitch to get to know so many people from Canada and get to meet, both of you guys and and Josh has come down and done a show in Baltimore. I got to meet him and it's just been a really cool 4 year journey, through Twitch music and getting to see all those people that I've seen on stream come together and get to support you and travel, even from Germany and all over. And
Yeah, Brazil also. Goomba's in the chat at the right now, and Goomba was here for the EP release. It was incredible, and like that was a big reason why it was important to me that we like set up meetups outside. I mean, like I think a few of them set up stuff that I wasn't involved in, which was awesome. That they were just kind of like hanging out together as well. And I just it was so important to me that I was like, people are coming from all over the world for my show. We gotta make it worth the trip, you know. So we did a CN Tower trip. We got beaver tails together after the CN Tower.
Nice.
Proper Canadians. And then we did a Niagara
I have
Falls
no
trip.
idea what that is, but I'm excited to
You
find
know
Oh,
what
you
out.
an
will.
elephant ear is?
No.
Oh, well, it's just
You
a
named
flat
different
pastry
animals. All
with
right,
toppings.
They're
fair enough.
delicious. You'll love it.
Yeah, I love pastries, so I'm sure I will. So, but yeah, it's thank you everyone for being a part of this. I saw that Willie San, who rated into Katie earlier today, is in chat, and so another person from South America, and it's just so cool. I love that world vibe that we have here, and that people can connect and. It could be somebody waking up in the morning and someone going to sleep at night in the same chat, conversing, just through the love of music. And so I'm super happy that you were able to release this EP. So, it doesn't just end, when the stream ends, that we can go back and, listen to it on the car rides and stuff like that. And now forever, intertwined with my family videos. So that way, the kids go back to those memories, this music will always be attached to it. So for me, it's just going to have that sentimental value forever, And so I think that that's so cool that these pieces of art can live on, right? And so obviously that's the goal in producing music, but it's just cool to see that and the reception. I talked about it earlier. I just really impressed that everyone seemed to love all the songs. There's not like if you ask the people, it'd be hard for people to find a clear favorite. And, I think that that's such a testament to what you guys were able to produce. And really rare. I can't think of another EP where that's the case. A lot of EPs, there's one or two songs that just, everyone
Yeah, let's take
have.
off and
So, so Katie, what's next? What's your next project? What's the thing that you're excited about next that you can tell us? I'm sure there are things you can't.
so I'm hoping to get like the next song out will 100% be an acoustic version of I'm Here. I was hoping to get that out last year and just things fell through many times. So it didn't work out, but we're gonna get it out. And then we're shifting gears. We're shifting gears a little bit. We're gonna be working on the villain era stuff.
Nice.
So I think the plan right now is to release my song "The Only Thing You Love," which is it's a much newer song. Like I wrote that this year. Uh, was it this year? End of last year. Might have been the end of last year. But I wrote it like very recently compared to everything else that I have been releasing. Um, but it fits storyline wise really well with the stuff that's going to be on the villain EP, and it feels like kind of a prequel to the EP because storyline wise it makes the most sense to be the first song on that EP, but I just don't think it fits there. um so I'm going to release that I think as a single first, and then the EP will be another 5 song EP with For Your Sins, You Suck, Vampires, Villain, and Bye.
Nice.
Yes,
That's
Villain.
exciting. I'm excited to hear what you do with Bye. Just such a funny
Very sassy.
song, and I just think that it's going to be an interesting one to see, produced for sure. So that's exciting. I'm excited to see you go through the process um, and to see where it goes next. So Dan, what's up next for you?
So well, I don't know if Cass is still in the chat, but we're working on her EP, very much in the early goings. So doing that. I did a song for a game, so that'll be coming out hopefully end of year. I can't say too much about it other than I hope it's a big success. It's my first kind of foray into the gaming soundtrack world, so I'm super excited about that. And then a couple of collaborations, one with Luna Keller and one with Lisa Cuthbert. A couple of songs. I did a song with each of them, and other than that, just keep putting out like my instrumental stuff. I want to do a cover EP of some of my stuff, so the songs that I performed on Twitch, different kind of versions of songs. So I'm kind of all over the place, and I also have all these grand visions about getting back more involved on my YouTube channel and really pushing YouTube again. So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place.
Hard to do it all. I as a
Yeah,
who likes to
yeah, it
dabble in
is.
different
It is.
creative
Yeah, but I
endeavors.
love being busy. So
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I'm excited, and obviously, go if you're not following them, you can mouse over their names in chat, and I will obviously when I post this VOD up on YouTube, put links to all of your guys' band camps and things of that nature. I think it's just such a cool thing to watch you guys produce music live, the communities that you've been able to do, but then obviously collaborate together to create this, piece of art and something that will live on. And I think that that's really a testament to what you guys were able to produce. And Dan, I know that it's so late. It's much later than I had promised you. I wanted you to give
it's
your
all good.
final.
I'm still
Uh,
awake.
you're still awake, so yeah. But I wanted to give you a final shot to say anything, promote anything, talk about anything you wanted to talk about that may have missed in the process of this conversation.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks so much, Robbie. Thanks for this has been super fun. I know that you've asked us to do this for like a while. We're so bad with getting back to you, so my apologies. But
No,
I'm
all
really
good.
glad that it worked out. And thanks for being part of this amazing community, Katie. Thank you for trusting me with your tunes, and I'm so glad they turned out as well as they did. And yeah, I'm thankful for the community. Thanks to Peter, who hopefully is asleep by now, for
Yes.
bringing us all
Hopefully.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I echo that 100%. Robbie, thank you so much for inviting us into your stream and giving us this opportunity to kind of do a deep dive into the EP. I think it was a really cool experience, and it was cool for me to get to see a little bit more of what Dan did behind the scenes as well. Um, and thank you for being patient with us. I know it's been a while since you first reached out to us about
All
this.
good. I
Thank
find that things
you.
happen in the time that they're supposed to happen, right? So,
Yeah.
this was the right time. I was very ambitious with wanting to do it earlier in the year, and
Yeah.
we
I
all
think
get
this,
busy, and this was the time for it to happen. And I think it's also I think more interesting to reflect on it 3 months past, and I think it's
yeah.
a cool way that it's not so much time has passed, but like, a way to look back on it.
Mhm.
But I really appreciate both of you guys for taking the time. I mean, 2 hours out of your night, and I appreciate that as well. So just I wanted to reiterate for anybody that might be interested, I am producing a video of my Texas adventures, 3 songs from Emily Henry. I'm in the editing process. I have still 2 days left of my vacation, and so I'm using that to get it out there. And if people are in the DMV and they want to see Emily Henry live, they can on Friday. I'm going to film that from multiple camera views. That's at least the plan, and then try to maybe do some audio recording in different devices too. And I will do a multicam edit of that to release later because I figured that would be better than me trying to stream it. Just with quality and things of that nature. So stay tuned for some of those projects. Again, in August, I will be back to the sports thing. We'll do the first 2 Mondays in August. If you are interested in the Olympics, come back and we'll talk whatever Olympic sports that anybody wants to talk about. So anyone can reach out through a DM, and I will talk. And I'm going to find out what everyone wants to talk about, and then I'm going to organize it into groups of people that have like interests, and it'll be fun little roundtables talking about their favorite sports. So anyone can come by to watch, listen, or be a part of if they'd like to do that. And then the show begins again, the podcast that is, in September when football season starts again. So people are looking for that. They can find it there. You can also find me on Instagram as well, the same handle, and I keep people updated there. And any well, I'll do a shout out for each one of you guys so people know the ones that they don't know at this point. But Katie, when are your next streams?
My next stream is Thursday, this Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and then on Saturday at 4:20 Eastern Time. Thanks so much to my community for changing my stream time for the memes.
Yeah.
I will be doing a nonsense stream, where I, depending on what's happening in stream, I'll either play regular covers, or I'll just sing sounds, or I'll play the song a cappella.
Love
Or
it.
I guess sing the song a cappella, but it'll be interesting.
Yes, that sounds interesting.
Sounds
So
very brave.
yeah, it's definitely something, a departure, if you will.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. And then Dan, I know that your streams sometimes different times, but when are the
Yeah,
next
I'm
one?
I'm kind of off schedule for the summer. So this week, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but next week, I'm part of on Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. I'll be part of Lisa Cuthbert's Hex Fest.
I love those
Um,
Hex Fests. Those are fun.
yeah, Hex Fest is lots of fun. For those who don't know, it's there's no talking, so it's just big raid train. But I mean, you could sing if you want, but I mean, it's really hard for me because I talk so much. So, and of course, people are always trying to egg me on to make me like ruin it. But usually, I just turn my mic right off. So it's lots of fun.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So
I
definitely go
don't know
check
if I could do
out.
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It's not easy.
yeah, 50% of Katie's streams at least is the talking part.
I
So
talk a lot, as we know. Yeah.
yes. I know we kind of had to talk off tonight, but it's we can. I think we all have the gift of the gab, which makes it fun. So, all right, I think only 50%. Yeah, I was being nice, Goldfish. I would be like, yeah. All right. I usually let my guests decide where we're gonna raid into next.
Oh,
So I'll let you throw an idea out there, either one of you or both, and we can even put a poll in the chat if you guys each have an idea. And so that way we can see one of your guys' friends. And so yeah, just let me know. I was gonna open up for more questions, but it is late, so I'm gonna have questions from chat today. But I really appreciate everyone for tuning in and being a part of this conversation. It was a lot of fun. And it was so nice to see so many friendly faces. And thanks again to all of the gift subs and all this sort of stuff. GoldenEye using 69 bits to make an image text brighter, and all the subs gifted by Peter and Anonymous and Ollie, and just you guys were amazing. The Bull, also incredible. So I really appreciate it. I've never been on that end of this before, so I just wanted to take some time to thank all of you guys for being a part of this. And yeah, it was really fun. So, Katie, you have anybody in mind?
yeah, I popped into chat because I didn't want it to be confusing as to how to spell it. But also, I just want to take a moment to again say thank you so much to Robbie, to Dan. Thank you for bringing my songs to a place where I liked them again, and for being so receptive to feedback. I know we went back and forth on things quite a bit for some of the songs. I appreciate your patience and your willingness to work with me, with bringing that EP together, and turning it into something that even I could like again. It was really, really incredible, and I'm just so eternally grateful. And again, thank you so much to Peter, who I hope is asleep, for connecting us. Absolutely, much appreciated. And thank you so much to everybody here hanging out on Twitch, and just my Twitch community in general. Like, everybody who was so encouraging and supportive in getting this EP out, and encouraging me to just even continue to pursue music and to pursue songwriting. So thank you very much.
Sorry, I just read the comments.
The comments
Yeah,
are great.
it was my pleasure, by the way, Katie. It was my absolute pleasure.
I love it. I hope that you guys find a way to work obviously together again and find some cool project to do, whether it be an LP or a song or whatever. I think you guys smashed it, and I'm excited to see what you guys both do separately. But obviously, if you guys did something together again, I'm definitely on board. Although I get very little say in that. Uh, I do like the comment about a Power Ranger in the 90s. I can. So that's pretty hilarious. I was a big Power Rangers fan, so
It must be the hair.
yeah, for sure. Um, all right, I think unless Dan has anybody else in mind, I'm definitely down to raid this person. It's a singer songwriter.
I got nobody. I'm not usually up this late, so I'm like, I don't even know who's on at this time.
Yes. And shockingly, I have mod for 40 people, and not a single one of them is on right now. So I was like,
Wow.
oh. Yeah, anyway, so let me do the raid call over, and if people have the emotes, they can actually do the sub raid as well. I want to thank you both for being a part of this. It's been a lot of fun. I'm definitely rating out with the most people I've ever had in my chat. So thank you for the homies unmuted for being a part of it, and for Dan's community as well. And we'll see you guys on your streams either this week or next week. And hope that you guys have a great rest of your summer. And yeah, I will. We will see you guys soon.
Cheers.